Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. We're getting ready to go live on TV when I get the heads up from the control booth back there. All right. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the City Commission meeting for Monday, November 7th, 2016. Ask the City Clerk, please call a roll.
Commissioner Hersberg.
Present.
Commissioner Honaker.
Here.
Commissioner Schleicher.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Sukup.
Here.
Vice Mayor Novick.
Happy to be here.
Mayor Masarzik.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Honaker for our invocation, our pledge, and our singing of the national anthem. Commissioner Honaker.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to do a silent invocation, but Nick Peace is here from Man of Many Talents. He brings our singing talent for every meeting, anti-bullying programs, and he's been in Deltona helping us for many years. And I asked him if he could do a little invocation, and Veterans Day coming up, and who better to do it than Nick Peace? So if we could all stand for an invocation, please.
Anya? Mad at me if I started this without this being on. We're good. Bow your heads with me, please. Father God, we thank you for the privilege of being here tonight. We come to you, Lord God, in your amazing name, knowing, oh God, there's all power in that name, Jesus, and we thank you for it. We're invoking your presence here tonight, Father God, for we trying to do this on our own would stumble and fall. But Father, when we turn it over to you, we know that you'll give us what we need in insight and understanding and the wisdom to use it, not man's wisdom, because man's wisdom in its greatest form is as foolishness to you. So we're asking you for your wisdom. And Father God, there's a lot of issues on the table here tonight. And Father God, we just ask you to bring those issues, oh God, to each one of us, oh Lord God, the way you would have them be seen and heard, and that you would, oh God, temper and do the things that need to be done, Father God, what is best for this city and for its people. And we praise you for that. We thank you for every commissioner that's here tonight, Father God, and our mayor and our vice mayor. And we thank you for all of our city employees, Father God, each and every one of our city manager and our city attorneys as well. We ask, Father God, that you just bless them with your peace, and Father God, and lift all burdens from them. So the only burden they carry tonight, my Lord God, is the burden of this city. And we'll give the praise and honor to you. Lord, we thank you for our men and women who serve us, speckled throughout the world today in uniform. We ask a special blessing of protection around them tonight, my Lord God, and around their leaders, the generals, admirals, colonels, captains, corporals, and lieutenants, and even sergeants that make decisions for these men and women to keep them safe and all of their families as well. We thank you especially for our veterans, those who have served to protect this country and bring the freedoms that we so get to enjoy every day, even the freedom of speech and the freedom even to pray. We thank you, Father, that it's all because of you. As we invoke your presence now in this very place, we give all the glory and praise to you through your Son and our Savior, even Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And next we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that will be the national anthem by the Sunrise Singers from Sunrise Elementary School, made up of the 4th and 5th grade students and led by Mrs. Pulliam. So pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say
Marcia Honecker. Thank you, Mr. Pisa, and thank you, Sunrise. You did a great job. The crowd thins out. Proud moms and dads and grandparents, I'm sure. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is approval of the City Commission meeting of October 17th and September 19th, 2016. There's no corrections, additions, or deletions. Motion's in order. Commissioner Schleicher?
Yes, I move the approval of minutes for regular City Commission, October 17th, and the regular commission is September 18th at 19th as amended.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Second.
All right, they've been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda, Commissioners, we all know the routine. Let's go down on the floor. We've got some superstars that we want to recognize this evening.
Our first recipient is Isabella Torres, a fifth grade student at Deltona Lakes Elementary School for academic excellence. She is a leader in the classroom and has wonderful interpersonal skills. She is always willing to assist others and seeks ways to improve herself and her peers. Our next recipient is Leilani Acevedo, a fifth grade student at Discovery Elementary School for academic excellence. She is maintaining an A average. She is an active participant in both the Good News Club and the Discovery Chorus. She enjoys assisting both her peers and her teachers. Our next recipient is Allison Barry, a first grade student at Enterprise Elementary School. She follows classroom rules and procedures. She is enthusiastic about learning and has excelled in all academic areas. She continuously puts forth great effort to work hard, problem solve, and help others in the classroom. Our next recipient is Nayama Ramosar, a fifth grade student at Forest Lake Elementary School for academic excellence. She is making straight A's. Naomi is responsible as demonstrated in her performance as a safety patrol. She helps in her school community as an active member of the student government. Our next recipient is Natalie Brene, a fifth grade student from Friendship Elementary for above average academic achievement. She is responsible as demonstrated in her performance as a safety patrol. She is always offering to help others, peers, and staff. She is consistently kind and cheerful with all. Our next recipient is Uralis Merced, a third grade student at Pride Elementary School, and she is receiving her certificate for the Courageous Award. She has a heart of gold. One of her biggest accomplishments is her fight against cancer and beating her cancer. Despite her past illness, she continues to do her schoolwork and make good choices at all times. She is a brave and courageous young lady. Our next recipient is Nathan Baldwin, a kindergarten student at Pride Elementary School, for outstanding behavior. Nathan works above level in all academic areas, and he is always kind to others and assists his peers when needed. Our next recipient is Alyssa Carver, a first grade student from Sunrise Elementary School. She is receiving her certificate for academic excellence. She is making pluses in all academic areas. Alyssa demonstrates leadership skills throughout all parts of the day. She helps others in class without being prompted. Our next recipient is Scotty Bradley, a fourth grade student from Timbercrest Elementary School, for academic excellence. He maintains an A average in all subjects. He is a leader and peer teacher in mathematics. He is a classroom role model who is the first to welcome new students. And Scotty is also active in the Scouts. Our next recipient is Joyce Lynn, a seventh grade student from Deltona Middle School. And Joyce is receiving her Superstar Certificate for always coming to school with a positive attitude and ready to learn, shows high levels of critical thinking, sets an outstanding example for all her peers, and is excelling academically in all subjects. Our next recipient is Ava Took, a seventh grade student from Galaxy Middle School, for being polite and respectful, willing to help others, and has a positive attitude towards her education.
Is Ava here? We'll make sure we get this up to Galaxy. It's not that far away.
Okay. Our next recipient is Juliet Torres, a sixth grade student from Heritage Middle School. She's going above and beyond in both academics and citizenship. She performs at a very high standard in the classroom. She is kind and courteous, and she sets the bar very high by being a role model to all her peers. Our next recipient is Cody Martin, an 11th grade student from Deltona High School, for serving Volusia and Flagler counties as the East Coast FFA Federation reporter. He's the Deltona Senior FFA Vice President. Cody helps members in several career development events to train for competitions. He is sincere, hardworking, and genuine. He also currently has a 3.5 GPA and is in the top 20% of his graduating class. Our next recipient is Ricardo Rivera, a 12th grade student from Pine Ridge High School. Ricardo comes to class every day and is on time, volunteers at the hospital 8 hours a week, and is receiving academic credit, but chooses to stay longer to help patients. He is allowed to leave after 6th period every day, but volunteers his time to help with athletic training. He also attends games and volunteers for any additional help needed for the Health Care Academy. Our next recipient is Alina Torres, a 12th grade student from University High School for academic excellence. She has a 3.1 GPA, is a member of RHO Kappa, American Sign Language Club, and selected as one of Volusia County Futures Foundation Tomorrow's Leaders. She also was a member of the cross-country track and field teams. She demonstrates leadership skills and maturity in all situations she encounters. She mentors and leads other office aides to ensure they understand their responsibilities. Okay. Need anything else?
I just want to take a minute, and would all the teachers, please, and principals and teachers that are here stand up? We like to take a minute and thank you all. It's an important night for all these students, but to have the kind of support from the faculty and students, principals, and teachers is something you parents should be very proud of. They take their own personal time to make sure they come here and support these young people. So God bless you, and parents, grandparents, you're all doing it. Keep it up. Keep it up. This is what makes America strong. I saw a couple. Is our former Commissioner Carbonell? Somebody said she's here. I don't see. There you are. We have to signal her out because she used to sit up here with us. So Carol, good evening. Yeah, we normally recess for about 5 minutes, let the parents and I ask the parents, please, if you would take your conversations out into the courtyard outside so we can continue our meeting. And we'll get back to it in just a moment.
Well, he's the chairman.
Let's see, Lisa. Oh, yeah, she's there.
Lisa's there.
I was going to tease him, but I guess I'll wait. All right, they exited rather quietly, so I think we'll move forward. The next item on the agenda is an update on the Healthy Start Coalition for Volusia Flagler County, presented by Dixie Moore. Is Dixie here? Hey, there she is. I see her. Dixie, you have the floor, ma'am.
I have the floor. Good evening.
Yeah.
And is this going to show up on the screen? Okay. It's great to be here, and it's good to see that our future is in such good hands, because that's really what we're all doing here. I wanted to make sure that there was a follow-up to when I presented previously. I know you all have a full agenda, so I'll try to be efficient in my presentation. There is a PowerPoint. I think it's supposed to be coming up on the screen. I just wanted to provide a little bit of history about the Family Place. As most of you know, the Family Place is located right here in the city building. And it really was birthed out of the fact that the Department of Children and Families really eliminated most of their bricks and mortar sites. So even though Deltona is the most populous city, they lost the ability to walk into a Department of Children and Families building and be able to apply for Medicaid, food stamps, a number of services that the Department of Children and Families provides. So we wanted to set up an access site. I know we met with a couple of the commissioners who wanted to make sure that these services were available to residents in the city of Deltona. So the other thing that we did was we did an application for the Community Development Block Grant, and we also did a proposal to the West Volusia Hospital Taxing Authority. And so we were able to get funding to have a full-time person, and that's Carmen Diaz, who's downstairs each day in the Family Place location in the city. And we were able to get all of the equipment that is used by the residents in that facility. So we're really grateful for the partnership with the city. And are you guys seeing this, or is it not showing up? No, I have a PowerPoint. It's in front of me. Oh, okay, good. All right. Your next slide is the intake process. And I just wanted you all to have kind of a flow of how it works when someone walks into the building downstairs. Carmen tries to determine if this is somebody that needs a lot of assistance in navigating our system, or is this somebody who really wants to come in on their own and just navigate on their own. What we do is we provide access to the Department of Children and Families site, so we're an access site. We provide direct link to the career source, which is workforce development, so we make sure if they're looking for employment, they need a resume, they need to follow up on unemployment that they filed for, or anything else like that. If they're looking for a job or trying to gain some self-sufficiency, that we do that career link support for them. We also provide information and referral for any number of services that would be available either in the city or in the county based on the needs that they have when they walk in. We have a Help Me Grow developmental screen. So if a family comes in, we encourage them to take the screen to determine if their child is developmentally on task. If not, we facilitate a referral to early steps so that we can provide some intervention. So basically, they can get a range of services. One of the things that we found people in the city really need is access to health care. We help facilitate the West Volusia Hospital Taxing Authority card. We help them apply for Medicaid. If they're not eligible for Medicaid, we help them apply for the Affordable Care Act. If they're not eligible for the Affordable Care Act, then we work with them to get the West Volusia Hospital Taxing Authority card. So there's a range of services that people have a need for when they come in, and we try to assist them with that. So basically, since the time that we opened downstairs, the first few months were very slow. We were getting equipment in. We were trying to get everything up and running. But we've seen a total of 252 unique participants who've come into the facility for assistance. There were 477 contacts with the public over the time period from October through September. And by phone, Carmen also follows up with people that apply for Medicaid. So 615 families have been contacted. These families come in, they utilize the computer, they get access to the internet, any printing, utilizing the phone, the fax machine, and this seems to be a really big need for people who don't have their own technology at home and don't have access to it. A total of 1,468 needs were addressed in addition to the Healthy Start services that we provide. 447 visits were to use the available technology. 203 needed assistance with finding health insurance or health care. 142 were for food or cash assistance. 235 were for Medicaid for adults. 60 were looking for Medicaid for their children. 126 were looking for assistance with identification, and 25 were trying to get housing assistance. They needed housing. Of those unique individuals that came in and were assisted at the Family Place, 71% that were seen by the family support counselor were from the general public. So they weren't moms with babies. They were people from the general public that needed assistance. 41.6% of those seen were unemployed, and that really kind of hits us hard. 46.8% made less than $10,000 a year, and that's 118 of those that came in. 42.4% had a high school diploma, GED, or below. And 89% were repeat visitors. So that means they came in and they came back to get assistance again. So we provided a kind of a pie chart that shows you what the requested assistance was. And I think some of the things that we conclude is that having that site there is very helpful. Since that time, we also met with your utility billing department and some of the other departments in the city. If someone can't pay a $16 water bill, they have bigger problems than their water bill. So we want to make sure that they have a place they can go where we can look at other entitlement they may be able to get some of the economic pressure off of them, and we can assess more of the needs that they have and see if we can't help with some of the economic related challenges that they're having. And I look at those kids that were here earlier, and I know that, you know, when we help kids, we help families, we help the community, and we help the economic development of the city of Deltona. So I just really want to say that this partnership, I think, is kind of historic in Volusia County. You are the only municipality that has these kind of services right in your city building, and I think you're to be commended for being progressive in that way. We are now in a national collaborative called Cradle to Community, and what you're doing here has us among 8 national communities. One is the city of Boston, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Alameda County, Kansas City, Missouri. They call us Volusia County, but we're actually one of 8 communities that were selected to look at some of the work that we do with our municipalities, and we wouldn't have received the TA we're getting from them without this partnership and cooperative. So I wanted to thank you for that. And then the PSA that went out, I think it's helping with getting some traffic coming in. Word of mouth is huge. A lot of the people that come in to see Carmen, they found out from another family that they were able to get help there. And so I think what I'd really like to say is thank you very much for funding us. I wanted to let you know what the clientele looks like that's coming in there and ask you if I have any questions from me. And
no, thank you very much. I'm glad to have the update. It's amazing when you look at it, when serious numbers in Deltona. A lot of times, many of us that are not facing those kind of challenges do not recognize how many people in need are really there. And it could be neighbors and right down the street or next door for that matter. So thanks for what you do, and we're glad to be able to be a part of getting to have services to the people in need. Thanks, Dixie.
thank you.
See you next week.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Quarterly reports from city advisory boards. First is Tanya Boggs with Deltona Economic Development. Tanya's not here. That doesn't look like Tanya to me.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and honorable commissioners. I'm Eric Alexander, your vice chair of DDAB, and Tanya apologized she couldn't be here this evening, so I'm stepping up to give you the report here.
Okay, go ahead.
DDAB, for those of the Deltona Economic Development Advisory Board, this last quarter, we met. The July meeting started with a discussion toward the preparation of the upcoming commission report and recommendation on workforce development. At that meeting, DDAB reviewed and worked on a flex-themed accelerator as a primary way to best accelerate job growth within the city of Deltona. DDAB expects to make a full report and recommendation to the Deltona Commission here in the near future. The August meeting followed the same guidelines as July. We've been in that. DDAB seriously wants to complete and present the Flex Theme Accelerator report and recommendation to the Commission and request a new assignment at that time in the area of workforce development. September meeting was not held, and we also do not meet in November, but
Okay.
We'll be back at it in December and hope to see you all soon.
We're eagerly awaiting that final report. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Mayor.
Bye. And the next item is Planning and Zoning Board, but it's a written report only. Commissioners, you have that. If there's anyone in the audience who wants a copy of it, we can make it available to you. And then Lisa Spriggs with the Firefighters Pension Board. There's Lisa. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's good to see you again. I'm representing the Firefighters Pension Board. I'm Lisa Spriggs. I'm their plan administrator. And we did provide a written report to you for this quarter, but we had an item on here that we really wanted to give a little bit of discussion and provide some detail to you, so I'm here to present. We also have two Board of Trustee members in the audience. That's Jean Gizzi and Jim Kozan, who is also serving as our chairman. As you can see from the report, our portfolio continues to grow. We're at $23,829,000 as of the end of September 30th, and you can see a breakdown of our investment portfolio in that report. The second item is that every year you know that we file an annual compliance report with the Division of Retirement. It goes through several standards in the Florida statutes as well as your ordinance to determine if you're in compliance. We're happy to say that we did receive a accepted and approved report by the state, and that in turn allows us to draw down on premium tax money that helps to support the plan. That money was distributed August 26th by the state, and that was $434,916. So that represents a little over 11% of the funding that goes into the plan, so it supports heavily those extra benefits for the firefighters. Item number 3 is regarding our investment performance, and item 3 and 4 kind of tie together. But let's talk a little bit about investment performance. This year we finished pretty strong at a 9.84%. That's our preliminary rate of return. That might change slightly when we get all of our return numbers in for the end of the quarter, but our investment consultant has provided our review and our report. But I also provided a history, and you can see how when you're investing on the long term, the market changes, especially when you're doing a hard date of September 30th, can reflect large variations in your annual return. So what the pension board does is they strive to look at the investment strategy over the long term and focus on an average rate of return. And their fiduciary responsibility requires them to set annually and provide to the state what their average rate of return is. And currently, to determine the contributions that are made into the plan, they have established an 8% rate of return, and we've held that since plan inception. And this has been an ongoing discussion with the board, especially after the downturn happened and over the volatility of the market over the years. So you can kind of see on average, we've had a 3-year average of 7%, a 5-year average of 9%, and since inception about 6%. So when the actuary, which is item 4, looks at the plan, they every year determine, based on their professional standards, what the contribution requirements are for the plan to fund the plan benefits. And that is all based on assumptions. One of those assumptions is the investment rate of return. Well, when the actuary looks at those investments, they look at it a little bit different than the portfolio manager and that regular rate of return that we're seeing there. So to give you an idea, last year, on an actuarial basis, our investment average was at a little bit over 6%. Okay, so we've been a little shy of our 8% mark. And that varies, again, based on where we land at the end of that year and that point in time. So for October 1st of 2015, You utilized that valuation to fund your current fiscal year that started this October 1st of 2016. The city's contribution requirement is 22.5%. We said that the state insurance proceeds cover another 11.7%. And then the members cover 8% of payroll, so they contribute 8% of payroll. To give you a comparative on the city funding, you're currently at 22.5%. The Florida Retirement Special Risk Class is currently at 22.57. So you're right there. You're not exceeding it. So we've stayed right with it. But what I wanted to focus on tonight is our October 1st of 2016 valuation. So what the board has done is, because this plan is going on almost 20 years in existence, we've got quite a bit of history now to look at what our actuarial assumptions are. We've got retirees, we've got pending retirements, so we've got draws on the actual pension. So what we did is we hired the actuary this year to do what's called an experience study. And what they do is they look at all the assumptions that make up that contribution rate that's set every year. And we had them look at that experience and evaluate the assumptions that we were using. Based on that, the board reviewed that information in July, and the board made certain determinations that I want to share with you tonight. Before I talk about the board's determinations, though, I'm going to give you the state's determination, okay? There was a regulatory change that was put into place. So even though it was part of our actuarial experience study, we don't have a choice in the implementation. So House Bill 1309 was a mandatory revision to the mortality table rates. It used to be that the actuary, based on their professional judgment, would be able to evaluate how mortality tables were utilized within the study. This House bill actually mandates that the chapter plans, which is what we're under, Chapter 175, mimic those used by the Florida retirement system. Okay, so those do differ. So our actuary has done an estimate, and when they do the final actuarial, we'll be able to better refine this number. But they've done an estimate of implementing that change, which is effective for October 1st of 2016's valuation, and that will cost approximately 2.2% of payroll, which is about $82,000. Now, that will not impact the city's budget until next year, and we'll have a more refined number because the study that we'll have done now will actually set the rates for next fiscal year, so it'll be fiscal year 17-18. In addition to that regulatory implementation, the board looked at our experience and the different factors that we were using. And the board made a determination to change the salary increase provision and the retirement rate assumptions. Both of those were actually in the favor of lowering the contributions. And we're not doing it just to lower the contributions. The board did it very mindful of the fact that that's what the data reflected. So that those changes that were implemented by the board will affect next year's valuation by a negative 0.6% of payroll decrease, approximately, based on the actuary's preliminary review. Again, the numbers have to be refined. So those changes in assumptions will actually reduce the contribution, will offset that $82,000 by about $23,000. So hopefully our net impact will come in somewhere under $60,000. And again, a lot of other factors go into this, so it depends on your payroll, how large your payroll grows, how small, what your actual dollar amount will be. The percentage is applied to that amount. And then finally, the board, going back to item number 3, which was the investment rate of return, the board has continued to discuss that investment rate of return, and we feel as fiduciaries of the plan, the board felt very strongly that they needed to be mindful of reducing it, but they also wanted to be mindful of the impact to the contributions. The state, I will tell you also, is very much somewhat pushing. They have not mandated pension plans to look at their investment rate of return. The Florida retirement system did lower theirs this year. They're down to 7.6%. Their actuary actually recommended 7.5%, but they lowered it to 7.6%. Lowering the rate of return basically can have an increased effect on contribution rate. So what our board did, again, being mindful of their fiduciary responsibility, but also being mindful that we want to mitigate the impact on contributions, the board approved lowering the expected rate of return, but they're lowering it from the 8% to 7.6%, but it's over a 5-year period. So each year going forward, and they won't start this until the October 1st, 2017 valuation, which will actually fund your 18-19 fiscal year. So you got a while for that to come into play. And hopefully with some other assumptions, we can mitigate, the overall impact on those contributions. So by lowering that rate, they can get to what's a more acceptable rate at 7.6%, but it'll be over a 5-year period, reducing that rate 0.08% per year. So we wanted to have this opportunity just to kind of introduce that so that you had sort of the future kind of perspective of where we're going with the actuarial valuations and what your contributions may be. And I'll take any questions if you have those.
Okay. Did somebody want to speak? Because I don't see any speakers here. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any questions.
Okay.
I just have one. I mean,
Okay.
in layman's terms, so that the public understands where it comes from. Those of us been through this a while pretty much could follow you, but there's some out there might not understand. The reasoning, besides the state's requirements, the lowering of the expected rate of return from 8% to 7.6 is going to have what effect, layman's term, what effect virtually on us, on the residents, taxpayers?
Well, on your budget, it could have the effect of increasing slightly the contribution requirement.
Okay.
However, it also, from a longer-term perspective, has the effect of stabilizing your contribution requirement, because you'll be in a better position to meet that expected rate of return.
Requirement
if that makes
instead of
sense.
the 8%.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that helps, or if it doesn't muddy it, we'll get questions this week,
Okay.
Lisa. We'll let you know.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
for your bodyguards for being here.
Thank you.
The Gene and Jim shows back there, they were here in support if you needed them, but they sat there quietly, which is always an intelligent thing to do when a smart lady's speaking. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Oh, now I got somebody. Commissioner.
Yes, I had mine for the DDAB report, but I withdrew it because you went on to the next one. It's okay, you were busy, didn't notice it, so I figured I'd save it to the end because Jerry's still here.
Mine didn't, excuse me, sir, but mine didn't show anybody.
I know,
kept
that's
looking.
why I figured
Okay.
I'd push it later before this reports went away.
All right.
And this one's more the DDAB that gives it gives a brush overview of what the DDAB did. And our monthly report from the city manager gives us 1 or 2 items. I mentioned to the city manager the OED report that we used to get monthly, which is like 3 pages that gave us a brief synopsis of everything that was going on economic development-wise, but they stopped doing that because she said, well, we put 1 or 2 things in the newsletter. I missed that OED report. She said, well, if a majority of the commission misses the OED report, Jerry can do it again monthly. It's a good report. I mean, it tells us what's going on. Is it something the other commissioners want to see, the OED report? Because I really missed that report.
I got to be honest and say I haven't missed it, but I read it when it came out. So
Yeah,
it's
because I had the quarterly
information and it
meetings,
helps.
and I'll talk to the residents, and they'll ask me what's going on in economic development. It gives me a complete list.
If there's no objection, staff, would you have Jerry continue to put it out? Maybe every other month, if not monthly, every other month, something like that. Because I think it's always good to have it out there.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
had it for tonight because I wanted to see what DDAB covered, and it's a
Okay,
brush.
it's just, there's no objections. The city manager will see to it, Jerry does.
I was just going to say, can we make it part of the quarterlies?
Yeah, it could be part of the quarterly
Part of the
reports, too.
quarterlies,
There you go. How about that, Jane? That'll be easier. Make it part of one of the quarterly reports from committees. Thank you, Commissioner. Is that it? Okay, next item on the agenda is item D, City's Investment Advisor. Chandler Assets Management is going to give a presentation on current economic environment as well as a status report on the city's investments as of September 30th, 2016. Okay, we
Great.
have-
Good evening. I'm Julie Hughes. I'm a Senior Vice President with Chandler Asset Management. I also have Mel Hamilton, my colleague, with me in the audience here today. So I thought I would start with a very brief economic overview and then move on to the city's portfolio. And really the purpose for discussing the economic update is really just to provide some context for you so you get a big picture for the environment in which we are investing, the city's short-term operating funds. So this is a lot of words on here. I'm going to give you just a very brief synopsis of what the Federal Reserve is doing. And the reason we care about the Federal Reserve and the FOMC policy is because it's really the primary determinant of short-term interest rates, and that is where we are working as an advisor for the city's short-term operating funds. So we had a meeting last week for the Federal Open Market Committee, and they did not choose to raise rates again at this point. They haven't raised rates in almost a year. If you remember, we got a Christmas present with a quarter basis point rate hike in December last year. Nobody in the market really expected a rate hike in November right before the election. Way too much turmoil and political discord possibly from a decision like that. However, the committee and Janet Yellen did point out that economic conditions have moved closer to their targets, and the economy has strengthened overall and strengthened their case for potentially raising rates at the December meeting, which is December 14th and 15th. So right now, Fed funds futures is pointing towards about a 70% probability of a rate hike of another quarter basis point at the December meeting. Typically, if you look at a correlation historically between a 70% or greater probability, and these are people trading, they have money on this in the market, typically the Fed does not like to cause market disruption. So typically if it's 70% or greater, you're going to see a rate hike. That's total data dependent. As you've probably seen in the markets, the election has caused a lot of volatility in the market. So a lot of things can change between now and December. But we at our firm also believe that if the economy continues to perform at its current trajectory, we are likely to see a 25 basis point rate hike from the Fed in December. So that being said, let's talk about why. The Fed has a dual mandate. The dual mandate is stable prices and maximum employment. First, let's talk about the employment side of the equation. The employment situation is basically a green light for the Fed and has been for some time. Job creation has been relatively strong. We had 161,000 jobs created in the last month. The trend is just under 200,000 jobs on a monthly basis. We're at 4.9% unemployment. Yes, there is still room for improvement, slack in the labor market. The underemployment rate, those working part-time for economic reasons but would rather have full-time jobs, is still high at 9.5%, but declining. And we do have a historically low labor force participation rate. The good news, and which is a good transition, I think, into the inflation side or the stable prices, is we are finally starting to see wages pick up. So at about a 2.8% year-over-year rate in the last report. And that hasn't moved much over time until recently. Inflation has been what has caused the Fed to pause and to not raise rates. So there's a lot of information here. If you focus on the right-hand side, the Fed's preferred gauge is personal consumption expenditures. You contrast that with what we all know, prices, CPI, consumption, what consumers are actually buying and using. That has been hovering around 1.7% growth. The Fed is looking for a 2% threshold there. However, they are projecting that we'll get there in the short to medium run. The consumer is 2/3 of our economy, essentially, and the consumer is pretty bullish. As you can see from the consumer confidence chart, retail sales are relatively strong. The dip you see in the chart is due to oil prices collapsing over a year ago. But overall, sales pace is relatively strong. We have a couple of broad indices here of economic activity. Without going into the details, these capture many different elements of the economy, and they are both trending toward slow to moderate growth, which we have seen throughout this recovery. And housing continues to be a driver of recovery. Housing starts are volatile typically. Price increases in homes has moderated, but still strong overall. This is the 20 major largest markets around the country, overall calculated at 5.1% increases. The strongest markets are in the West, Seattle, Denver, Portland. Weaker markets, Atlanta, New York, some here on the East Coast, but overall relatively strong. Manufacturing, which is really only about 10% of our economy at this point in time, has ticked back up into the expanding sector rather than contracting, so that has recovered from our strong dollar. Exports are recovering as well, and capacity utilization is still showing some slack in that sector. If we look at gross domestic product, if we kind of cut to the chase here, the trend line on the right-hand side, you get a lot of volatility in the quarterly numbers, but GDP growth is trending around 2% for the year, probably a little below 2%. The Fed is projecting about a 1.8% growth, and our firm also believes that we will be sub 2% for the year. Sounds pretty weak, but if you compare it to the other developed nations around the world, it's actually stronger than Europe and Japan. And of course, China is still in the 6.5% range, but slowing. So why do we care? What does all this mean? What does this mean for the city's portfolio? If we look at yields in the Treasury curves, you can see on the right-hand side, the brown curve, kind of in the middle, is our September 30 curve. It is much flatter than we were a year ago with that light green curve. What does that mean? That means you can see the anticipation of the market anticipating a Fed rate hike. Short rates are rising. Longer rates, not so much. So typically, as the Fed tightens in a tightening cycle, we will see a flatter yield curve. So no cause for major alarm. If the Fed does raise rates, it doesn't mean mortgage rates and long-term rates will go up commensurately. Typically, that long end of the curve will move much more moderately. So before I conclude the economic portion, are there any questions about the big picture here?
No, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about the portfolio. So we always want to start with the objectives. The objectives being, first and foremost, safety. Safety of principal, followed by liquidity, and then earning a market or commensurate rate of return with those safety and liquidity priorities for the portfolio. As your investment advisor, we are measured against a market index benchmark. Currently, that benchmark is the Bank of America Merrill Lynch 1 to 3 year Treasury Index. And the strategy is really to invest in high-quality, short-term fixed income instruments within the confines of the investment policy and Florida statutes. So we always want to show you if we are in compliance, again, with statute and within the policy, and currently all investments are in compliance, as this report demonstrates. Taking a look at the characteristics of the portfolio, I am going to focus on the middle column. That is the September 30 characteristics of the portfolio. So if we look at the average maturity and duration, those numbers are very close. Duration really measures sensitivity to interest rate changes. So those are about 1.85 just under 2 years, essentially, and basically right on top of the benchmark. So one of the disciplines that we employ and how we manage portfolios is keeping that duration very close to the benchmark to mitigate risk. And actually, as we stand here in early November, we are below that benchmark duration, which is a defensive position and protects that principle if, in fact, the Fed does raise rates and we see short-term rates rise commensurately. So the average purchase yield at 1.06%, we are very cognizant of trying to earn interest in the portfolio. So not only in returns, but in interest and yield for the portfolio. So we're always striving to outperform the benchmark in that yield as well. If I were to stand in front of you here 3 months from now or 6 months from now, that number is likely going to grow if the Fed, in fact, does move in December. You will see that rate tick up commensurately. The quality of the portfolio is of the highest quality, AA+, AA1. Remember the U.S. government, we own a lot of government securities in the portfolio. U.S. government is rated AA+, and AAA by Moody's, AA+, S&P, AAA by Moody's. And we have approximately $17.2 million invested in this operating portfolio currently. So if we take a look at how we are invested, or basically the sectors we're invested in, how are we allocated, you can see the majority of the portfolio is in very safe government securities. So about 48% in agency securities, and treasuries about 18%, about 20% in high-quality corporate notes, about 5% commercial paper, and a little bit in taxable municipal bonds. And the little bit of shift you've seen from quarter to quarter is picking up some agencies at better value that we saw as of recently, and adding a corporate note to the portfolio. Going forward, I would expect to be adding to the treasuries, and to commercial paper has become very attractive in the market as we've entered the era of money market reform. There's a bit of a dislocation causing an opportunity to buy commercial paper in the portfolio. So I would expect to add to that sector in the next quarter as well. Looking at the specific issuers that we are invested in, the portfolio is very well diversified. So the larger percentages you see there on the top are the government issuers, Treasury, Fannie Mae, Home Loan Bank, Freddie Mac, and then the smaller percentages are the corporates, commercial paper, and municipal bonds that we own at smaller percentages. And we will work to continue to keep the city diversified as we move forward in terms of industry sectors as well as names. A couple of new names that we've added in the quarter are ExxonMobil, which is AAA rated, as well as Bank of Tokyo commercial paper, and that is a U.S. branch that we are invested in, some very short paper there. Looking at the quality, as I mentioned, extremely high quality portfolio, AAA and AA. These are S&P ratings, which is why you see the huge bars in the AA sector for the U.S. government. And looking at the duration distribution. So as I mentioned, overall, the portfolio on average is about a little less than 2 years, about 1.85 years in duration. And you can see we're pretty well diversified across all the maturity buckets, if you will. A little bit barbelled in nature as we have more invested under a year and 3 to 3.5 years, because we believe this is an optimal way to position the portfolio for a potentially rising rate environment. And finally, we get to the performance, which is the green bar is the city, and the benchmark is represented in the light brown bar. So if you look at the 12-month period, the portfolio has outperformed the benchmark, a 116 versus an 88 basis point total return. Again, these are returns, so this encompasses not only the income generation of the portfolio, but the underlying price changes of the securities that are held in the portfolio. I would love to be reporting 7 or 8% like the pension, but remember, these are very short-term monies as well. And since inception of the relationship, a 101 versus 89 basis points for the benchmark. You will notice the last 3 months some negative returns, and the portfolio is less negative than the benchmark, and this is due to the fact that rates actually rose over the last quarter, which impacts the securities already held in the portfolio. So this is short-term pain for long-term gain. As I like to say, it's a very short-term phenomenon because the portfolio is so short. As we see rates rise, we are able to reinvest those maturities at higher interest rates. So we see higher returns going forward. And lastly, we have a chart of the purchase yield, because not only do we want to look at that total return, but again, we want to provide as much income as possible for the city in the portfolio. So the purchase yield currently tracking at approximately 106, and you can see how that's risen over time. Hopefully, if the market and the Fed cooperates, we will continue to see that rise as well. So that concludes the portion of the portfolio that we are advising the city on. Are there any questions here before I move on to the consolidated?
I don't see any. Go ahead.
Okay. So lastly, I'm just going to touch on the consolidated portfolio. This includes not only what I just reviewed with you in terms of what we are managing, but also the city's cash balances in money market funds, in the bank, in local government investment pools. So on a consolidated basis, you can see the portfolio as of September 30 is much shorter even than what we've talked about before. So it's under a year in maturity and duration, looking at the 930 column there on the left. Purchase yield at 68 basis points, AAA rated, and approximately $66 million. You see that has grown from the previous quarter due to the bond issue. That includes some bond proceeds. And as we look at the sector allocation, you will see the biggest pieces of the pie there are money market funds and local government investment pools. So this is daily liquidity, dollar in, dollar out. Use the money anytime you like. As well as some collateralized CDs that are very short as well. So those are the biggest pieces of your allocation, as well as the securities that we discussed in the managed portfolio. And then finally, we have the specific holdings, which I won't review unless anybody has any specific questions.
What's the longest term holding that you work with or you shoot for? I mean, it's all short-term
Yes, sir.
investments?
It is all short-term. The maximum maturity that we are allowed under the policy is 5 years.
Okay.
We do not have anything in the 5-year point.
Okay. Just curious. All right.
Any other questions?
None of us can get the kind of rates you get, so I guess we're all happy. So.
Okay.
No,
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All righty. Next item on the agenda is a special reports from city commissioners. Mr. Honaker, you had a short report from that you want to give this evening?
I'll keep it short, Mayor. It's from the Florida League of Cities committee meeting that I went to, and this is our second meeting. We narrowed it down from about 10 issues. Our goal was to get it to 2 issues that Florida League of Cities would agree to from our committee. There's other committees that they would take to Tallahassee to a unified stance. We narrowed it down. We kind of cheated. We combined communication services tax and local business tax because they're both current taxes that we're in favor of not reducing. And the communication services tax, we discussed heavily that the utilities do have lobbyists. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. But if the Tallahassee agrees that they're going to come down again, which the talk in Tallahassee is they're going to come down by 0.5 or 1%, to hold harmless, put in our verbiage going to them, hold harmless the municipalities and counties. Whatever you want to do up at your end is fine, but hold harmless has to be in there on that one. And the other thing that we agreed on was a new structured tax, presenting to them a local government infrastructure tax, which the only new portion of it is right now the counties have that option, but if a county doesn't do it, then it doesn't say in there that a municipality can, and some municipalities would like to implement that if the county's not going to do it. So we're going to champion a new revenue since we cannot afford infrastructure. We're having to, as you saw, take these loans out for infrastructure. So they want something new to go to Tallahassee, that we're in favor of the municipalities being able to ask for that infrastructure tax if the county is not already doing it.
So
and if
is
the
that
county
forced?
decides later that they're going to do that, then the cities would go away. They wouldn't double dip.
Is that forced infrastructure tax?
For an infrastructure tax.
Okay.
For an
For,
infrastructure
not
tax.
forced. Okay.
That they can put it out to the residents, hey, here, we want to do this, and, you know, still have to take the residents' vote, but right now the cities can't even ask the residents, do you want to do this?
Okay.
It's just up to the county.
Okay. So we're going to take the force out of it and ask them if they want
For,
to.
not forced,
Yeah,
for.
okay, that's, all right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hertzberg, you also League of Cities comments.
Yes, I am on the EENR, Environmental, Energy, and Natural Resources Policy Committee, and unfortunately, unlike Commissioner Honecker, we do not have our statements yet. It's quite the interesting committee, and we had probably 10 to 15 different items, and we've narrowed it down to one will be the same statement that we did last year on water quality, water quantity, and so forth. The second option is we're basically pretty much looking at, is it going to address fracking? Is it going to address the pollution policy that the governor is very strongly promoting at this point because of the Mosaic spill? You're looking at their policy that they have set up now. They're going to be doing public hearings for everything. However, the way the policy is set up right now for pollution, it really leaves it too wide open. There are no parameters. In other words, if a bag of fertilizer fell at your park and blew all over the place, that would be considered a pollutant. And then at what point, you have 24 to 48 hours to notify your constituents, your area, and there's really no guidelines on what they actually want to classify as a pollutant other than the broad-based language that they currently have. So that is going to need some reworking because, when you are looking at 48 hours to notify everyone in the area, what would happen if it was a gas situation where something went airborne? How do you have 48 hours to notify, and what are your parameters? So that's one thing that we're looking at. The other is there's a group that would like sea level rise. However, at this point, two of the state legislators came into our committee, basically let us know what the Senate president and the incoming Senate president and incoming speaker are going to be looking at, and suggested that we change it to flood mitigation. The wording be more palatable as a flood mitigation source. So that we're looking at, and the city of Cape Coral did a presentation on deep injection wells, and that was another subject that was brought up. I don't feel that that's going to gain any traction. There are too many cities that are at odds with one another in regulating or eliminating the deep injection wells into the aquifer. So hopefully in November's or December's policy committee meeting, I know we will have two statements then. So I wish that I was as solid on that as Commissioner Honecker, but unfortunately this committee is not that far yet. The other update I have is the Deltona State College Center for Women and Men board meeting, and a lot of good things are happening with the center. We've had several articles in the paper, several mentions in the local newspapers showing what the center actually does. We actually have in Deltona, we are part of that with our center over at the college right across the way here. The Student Government Association from Deltona State College actually voted to give the Center for Women and Men and the Fresh Start program a $10,000 grant, and that is going to their food bank in Deltona. They've had 2,500 visitors to the food bank that gives light snacks and needed food to the students that are in need there. And we also helped 3 students. I don't know if you've heard the carjacked girl. The girl got carjacked up at the Ormond Beach Walmart, and her books were stolen. The center paid for her to have her books redone. We've helped students with hurricane damage. So we are really looking at possibly having even DCF on campus and provide some of the help that DCF provides will also be available to the students on the campuses. And that is really forward moving, because this way it's a central point for those students that need help. So I'm really proud to be on that board. Things are really moving forward and moving up with grants, and with Mr. Kennedy, who's now our advisor there. He's been to the city several times, and they really, really appreciate the city's input and our partnership with the center. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor? TPO agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse my voice, I've got a cold tonight. Couple of things. As you know, I sit on the Pine Ridge High School Health Academy Advisory Board. Last Thursday night, we had a parents meet and greet. It was extremely well attended, where the students and the parents and the faculty for that program got together to talk about what their students are doing. The most exciting part about the program is that these kids are actually job shadowing in several medical fields around our city, Fish Hospital, Halifax, doctor's offices, dentist's offices, and they're going to be job shadowing with the fire department here shortly. So we're excited about all of that. Report real quick on our programs that are in with the TPO. The Catalina Howland is still moving forward. There is a slight delay of about 6 to 8 weeks on that. There was an issue that arose out of FDOT with regards to an archaeological survey that has been addressed by staff and FDOT staff. Everything is still moving forward. There's just a slight delay due to that archaeological survey. Don't know why we had to have one, above my pay grade, but that's just the report on that. It's all still intact and moving forward. The sidewalk program, staff is working with TPO staff, the county, and the other affected agencies, the school board and such, on the sidewalk program, looking to maximize and leverage as much TPO money as we can to put in as much sidewalk as we can. So as more information comes forward from the TPO, we'll bring that back to you. I-4 Ultimate, the meeting is here, November the 16th at 5 p.m. FDOT connector study, they've narrowed the connector study down to basically bus transit route configuration and the rail route configuration. FDOT staff is still carrying that survey and that study forward. This is a long-term project to bring transportation from the west side of the county to the east side of the county. And so if you want more information on that, there's a complete report at the River to Sea TPO's website, but it has been narrowed down to those two items. If you remember, we had one of those meetings here in the chambers where there were several options. They're down to those two, bus rapid transit and the rail configuration. And finally, there was a great presentation done by Votram. It's called the Votram Trip Planner. We're going to queue up the website tutorial here. It's a 3-minute tutorial. You have to understand, Volusia County is so fortunate. We have issues with Votram. We want to see more bus transportation, but there's an app that you can put on your phone going through www.votram.org, which is where this tutorial is going to come from. It's amazing. This is real-time stuff. You can be standing at a bus stop and want to know exactly how many minutes it's going to take for the next bus to get there, and you can do all kind of trip planning with it. You can set in schedules for yourself. And so, Lee, if you'll go ahead and roll that tutorial for us real quick.
Hello, riders, and welcome to Votram's online trip planner. We know your time is valuable, so I'm here to walk you through just 5 short steps, and you'll be out the door and on the bus to your destination. Now let's get started. Step 1. Let's start from the main website, Votran.org. Begin by clicking My Stop Live Bus Tracker underneath the Plan Your Trip tab on the left side of the page. You'll link to another page with a handy map and a color-coded list of all the available bus routes. Step 2. Next, let's sign up for rider alerts to get the best riding experience with Votran if you don't already have an account. Click here in the right upper hand corner and then select Sign Up Here, highlighted in blue. Just enter an email and password, then confirm. Step 3. From here, a validation code will be sent to your email. Take the code and enter it to complete your registration process in the sign-up box. Then click Verify Access Code. Congratulations, you're registered. Step 4. Now let's personalize your account. Enter your name, phone number, and subscribe to announcements. We can send email or text notifications about your arrival time. Yes, we can text your bus arrival time, so you never have to worry. The text can even be turned off during hours you normally are at work, home, or out shopping. If you ride 3 days out of the week, then select the 3 days you ride on the right side. Once you're done setting your specific notifications, select Save Changes, and you're done. Never miss your bus again. By signing up and using the text message options, you'll be notified of your bus departure times. Now what about specific trips outside your normal routine? Well, no worries there either. Votran's got you covered.
Step 5. Click the gray trip planner bar in the selection panel on the left side of the page. Enter in all the fields, including where you're coming from and where you're going. Choose whether you want to depart or arrive at a certain time, and then select that time, date, and with one of 3 options, you can plan your travel by the quickest trip, fewer transfers, or least amount of walking. Once you're done, select Plan Trip. Your schedule will pop up detailing which bus route to take and the total ride time. By zooming in and out on the map, you can view your travel route down to the street. You can even click on the last bus stop to get a street view of where you'll be.
Well, there you go. Riding with Votran has never been easier. Thank you for choosing Votran. We drive a great bargain.
So there's major metropolitan cities across our country that don't have this kind of technology available to them. So we're very fortunate here in Volusia County to try and maximize the ability for folks to utilize the bus transportation system. And as we continue to move forward with transportation needs throughout Volusia County and throughout Central Florida, this type of technology, smart street lights, traffic lights, and things like that are just going to continue to improve the service and hopefully allow our riders in our area here to be more comfortable and utilize this more effectively. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. I'm sorry, public participation. Put that back to where it goes.
Pat Mihalik.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. I'm here tonight to present a plaque to the sitting City Commission and to Manager Jane Shang. We have a plaque ordered, but it did not come in yet, so you'll see this is a copy of the plaque, and I'll read it to you. This is presented with appreciation to the Deltona City Commission and City Manager Jane Shang in honor of their support of the Deltona TNR program from CCFAW and the TNR Citizen Volunteers. If there's any volunteers here, would they please stand up? Thank you. We want to thank Manager Shang for her willingness to try something new to reduce the overpopulation of feral cats in Deltona, and to recommend to this commission that a TNR program would be beneficial to the community. We want to thank this commission for adopting the TNR program for a 3-year period. Because of this program, you have reduced your impoundment numbers by 944 animals compared to last year. This is a savings in taxpayer dollars of in excess of $84,000. This means taxpayer dollars have been saved and the lives of 80% of these animals would be cats, would be saved. So we want to thank you so much for all you've done. It's just, your volunteers, you have wonderful volunteers here that have helped with the program, but it's you guys that made it happen because you had faith in the program and you let us come in and help you to establish it here in your community. So I want to thank you all. You'll be getting the plaque as soon as it's ready, okay? Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and it's Heidi really beat on all of us to a point where we had to give in, but it's your volunteers that are doing all the work, and we'd like to thank all of you and Heidi, too, for keeping it up. So thank you all.
Thank you.
That's a sizable savings for our city in that, and other than the cats that you brought to my house,
I see.
that my wife and I enjoy, we really appreciate it. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
She's laughing back there. She tried to catch them, couldn't catch them, so we just adopted them. We had no choice.
I see. Well, we'll have to keep that in mind if we have any strays that we have to find a home for. Let's get your address.
Don't bring any more of me. I got plenty. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Julie Torado.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. I take this opportunity to thank you all for making this happen. And I also like to thank the City Manager for her outstanding job when it comes to helping with this DNR. Commissioner Herzberg, thank you very much for working with me on a daily basis. I would also like to thank Dale Baker and his staff for helping me on a day-to-day basis to accomplish what we set out to do. And we're doing a good job. I take this opportunity, too, to thank Volusia County Sheriff Department for helping me at 2120 Saxon Boulevard, which is the Publix Plaza. As you remember, Mr. Mayor, we had a problem there, and I know that I'm a nuisance sometimes because I keep calling them all the time every time I see something wrong going on there, but it's working, and they show up immediately. I'm very pleased. Thank you very much. And Mr. Mayor, I promise you that I will not drop another cat off to your house until January 1st.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Douglas McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. My name is Doug McDonald at 1494 Surrey Run Court here in Deltona. I'm here tonight with a heavy heart, but the topic needs to be discussed, and that is the op-ed piece that appeared in the News Journal last week that was authored by a city commissioner here. And in this article, there were 3 parts. 1, the attack on the city manager and the city attorney. 2, the issue of the so-called no-force sewers. And the other issue was the so-called water crisis. And I want to try to spend my time going through each one of these. I won't spend much time with the city manager. She's been the best thing that's ever happened to this city. I've seen a lot of progress. All that you have done in the last 2 years and the last 4 years through her, believe me, the people see it and they know it. I have communicated with her regularly, at least 25 times by email. Every time I get an answer. I don't like all of her answers, but she works night and day. Why she wouldn't respond to you, her bosses, is beyond me. But I know that's part of the allegations here. So, in conclusion, to wrap that up, you know yourselves you have the authority to discharge her or to try to work with her to improve her performance. But in order to discharge her, I believe you need a supermajority, which is 5 votes. I hope it doesn't happen. She deserves better. The second thing is the matter of this water crisis that has been fabricated involving the school board. You know, Mayor, Do you all realize the innuendo and the attacks that are going on the social media out there engendered by this article? It is outrageous. And the whole community has lost faith in all that you have done because of this one article. This does not exist. This forced issue on the sewers does not exist. This commission has never taken one vote, according to my research, on that matter in all of this time. Now, the commissioner that wrote the article did not create these issues. I will tell you who did and why. This is a campaign season. The election is tomorrow. So it's no small coincidence that this article appeared close to the election. The gentleman that has fabricated this is a community activist. He's been here at least 25 years. He's done this in the past. And all these two issues are, the forced sewers and the water crisis, all they are efforts that he has made as a campaign manager for two candidates for the commission. They do not exist. So, in conclusion, I ask that this commissioner be reprimanded or censured by the commission because of the dishonor that he's brought to you. He's accusing this manager of being disingenuous, and I have not heard one person in this community support the provisions in his article. So, one more thing. The mayor of DeBerry was recently recalled, translation, kicked out of office, and his violations were equal to or less than what I see.
Doug, I'm going to have to call it. Your time's up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Williams?
Mike Williams?
And if the audience would please hold their comments under public participation. We'd like everybody to speak, but we don't want to take a vote by applauding or not applauding. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, thank you. Mike Williams, 2889 Cottageville Street, a resident of Deltona since 1985. I'm here wearing two hats tonight. The first hat I'm wearing is for the Deltona Martin Luther King celebration hat, and I'm going to be, no, I'm not selling tickets, but I am going to ask the city to underwrite the breakfast, okay? 300 attendees, cost for the breakfast, $7, $2,250. I'm asking that for the city. Now, there's precedent established right next door to you by the city of DeLand. They always help to underwrite the breakfast at Stetson University, okay? The next thing I want to say, at the breakfast, we've chosen our speaker, the committee's chosen the speaker as the newly elected sheriff, Mike Chitwood. Our theme this year is Unity is Our Strength. In keeping with that theme, we chose Wendell Bradford, who ran against Mike Chitwood, to be the master of ceremony at that breakfast. That's in keeping with our theme, Unity is Our Strength, okay? Now, having said that, I'm going to take my MLK hat off, and I'm going to put on my NAACP hat and also my real estate hat. My NAACP hat echoes very much of what Doug McDonald just said. We're very fortunate to have the city manager we have here. We know what the problems were. You know, my NAACP, I haven't been at a meeting and been threatening to sue the city of Deltona for quite some time because I know that progress is being made. I have met with the city manager on several occasions behind the scenes working on some of these issues about diversity. We're seeing some of that take place in our city now. Before that, I never could have gotten to anybody at that level of city manager. I've also worked with the city attorney here on several occasions, both as a realtor and also as an NAACP person, where there was a couple of incidents that never should have risen to her level that she interceded with and quietly took care of those issues here at City Hall. So my voice is a vote of confidence for both the city manager, Jane Shang, and the city attorney, Becky Vose. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that it? Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and there's one item on it. It's a request for approval of the Cigna contract for health and dental insurance for 2017. If there's no, I'm sorry, I got a, okay, we're getting a little technical difficulty here. They're asking me to do technical stuff, which is scary. Commissioner Schleicher?
Yeah, I move consent agenda A, the request for a Cigna contract for health dental insurance 2017.
You move approval?
Move approval.
Okay. Commissioner Honecker?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any question or comments? All in favor?
Going to use the machine.
Well, we can use the machines if you'd like. Would you like to let us vote with the machines? All right, there we go. Motion 6-1. Commissioner Sukup abstaining, or I'm sorry, voting no. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, wait a minute, I'm going to get caught. Next on the agenda is under ordinances and public hearings, and it's a public hearing resolution 2016-58 revising the city's investment policy. And I guess who's going to present this? Staff have someone? I don't see Laura here, but I guess Bob is here, so Bob will take care of it. We got second string, but that's okay. I say that in jest, Bob. Is your mic on?
Now it's on, I think.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's no formal presentation.
It basically goes back to the presentation she gave previous to that. Okay. I have only one speaker, Commissioner Hertzberg.
I move to approve Resolution 2016-58, revising the city's investment policy as presented.
Okay. Commissioner Honecker.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak for or against this before we move on? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. You allow us to vote, please. Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose you have to read the resolution, Mayor. It's actually just an agreement between should be somewhere here. Now, all right, Becky, this is just a formal agreement. I don't have to read it.
You want me to read the resolution?
Yeah, I can't find it.
After the first blue divider.
Yeah,
it's just one page.
Mine's missing, but okay, go
well,
ahead.
It's front and back. It's resolution number 2016-58, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, repealing resolution number 2005-42, which provided for the adoption of investment guidelines for the investment of city funds, adopting a city investment policy pursuant to Florida statutes 218.415, providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, if you go ahead and vote now. Do you have a question, ma'am? All right, go ahead. Commissioner Smith,
Maybe Joyce can help. On page 2 of that resolution, was the date supposed to be 2016 or is it 2015? Okay, I couldn't get it on the system, but it was corrected because when I pulled up Dropbox, so that 2016 has been corrected. Perfect, thank you. Sorry.
That's fine. Okay, all questions been answered. All right, I'll go ahead and vote. Yeah. All right, motion passes 7-0. Okay, thank you. Moving right along. Item number B now. Resolution 2016-49, adopting the Southwest Volusia Deltona Community Redevelopment Area, or the CRA, redevelopment plan. And Mr. Bowley's here. Mr. Bowley, quick update, anything going on there?
Yes, sir. During the very quick CRA adoption process we went through, there was a technicality. We did have a legal description which properly went to the county for the delegation of authority. We did use a surveyor for that. We used the boundary for the CRA boundary inside the redevelopment plan. Everything was done correctly there. However, we did not attach the legal description itself to the redevelopment plan. The county suggested that we do this per state law to bring it back to you, and that's what we're doing tonight.
Okay, the 240 feet past north.
Yes, sir.
Line. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So that's the only adjustment or change to it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Those of you that enjoy reading legal descriptions, I know Becky does, but they're about as much fun as toothgate. Let me read the resolution. The resolution is Resolution 16-49, resolution of the City of Deltona relating to community redevelopment, making findings, adopting a community redevelopment plan, repealing resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing for severability and effective date. Commissioner Schleicher.
Yes, I hereby move to adopt resolution number 2016-49, adopting the Southwest Deltona Community Redevelopment Area.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Honaker.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Hertzberg, do you have a comment?
No, I was just going to second it.
Okay, is there anyone in the public who wants to speak for or against this?
I'll third it.
Hearing none, would you let us vote? All right, Natalie, please. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a public hearing. Again, it's a resolution number 2016-50, amending the City of Deltona's local housing assistant, or LAP LHAP plan. Mr. Bowley's here. This basically changes the existing levels and, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Paradise is here. Changes existing levels for awards to keep up with the changing economic times. Mr. Bowley, you have any additional information you want to put out?
No, it's
Mr. Paradise?
No, I do not. It's just increasing the award amounts and to eliminate the requirement to have homeowners insurance for owner-occupied rehabilitation strategy.
Okay, that I didn't read. Remove the requirement to have homeowners insurance.
That is correct.
Okay.
There's two individual strategies that are being amended within the local housing assistance plan.
Okay, fine. All right, is there anyone in the public who wants to speak concerning this item? Okay, commissioners, Commissioner Hertzberg?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 2016-50, amending the local housing assistance plan to increase purchase assistance down payment amounts and eliminate the requirement for owner-occupied rehabilitation clients to have homeowner insurance.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Sukup?
I had a question.
Me too. All right, the motion is made. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Sukup, you have the floor.
Yeah, hey, my first question is, how many people actually apply for this a year?
We typically run about 15 to 20 projects, both purchase assistance and owner-occupied rehabilitation, but it does vary, though, from year to year.
Okay, the question then is, it goes by your income, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is needs-based.
So who's the final determining factor? Who determines who gets it?
We have HUD rules that establish income thresholds to determine what is a moderate, low, and very low income applicant. And there's an extensive income vetting process where the applicants submit their income information, including bank statements and so forth.
Okay, and that would be primary jobs and 1099s and everything. You throw everything
Yeah,
in.
the income tax returns, absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Is that it, sir? Commissioner Honecker?
Mine's just on, and I know we're helping the elderly, and their houses are paid off, so they don't have to have a home insurance. But is that home used as collateral on these loans that we give them?
What the city does is apply what is known as a soft second or silent second mortgage, where there's no obligation for them to repay that unless they sell the house within a certain period of time. Typically, it's 15 years for owner-occupied rehabilitation. So they could outlive the mortgage, so to speak, if they stay in the house for 15 years.
Well, mine's more in line of a disaster, and they have a total loss of the house, fire, or hurricane, whatever, and there's no homeowner's insurance, so there's no money for them to pay back any of these loans.
That's correct.
And they're out the total investment.
And we're out the total money we put into them because of that total
Right.
lost house they cannot pay us back.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Commissioner, Vice Mayor Novick.
Yes, Mayor, I'm going to fill out a Form 8B with regards to this. I have a conflict. I have a family member that has applied for this program, so I will be abstaining from the vote.
All right, sir, thank you. Commissioner Hertzberg?
Thank you, Mayor. I initially had the same question and concern as Commissioner Honecker regarding no insurance. However, there have been several incidents that I know of where people were denied assistance because they have a paid-off home and they don't have insurance on that home for whatever reason. If they can't afford it is mainly the thing. And these projects that you're looking at, one was to stabilize a porch so that a medically script-written chairlift could be put in. And it was impossible to get that done because there was no insurance on the property, so there was no way to get any help through the program for this couple at that point. And there are several other instances where you're not looking at, because my concern is the same as yours, when you're looking at something that's investing a lot of money on a home that doesn't have insurance, and should there be a disaster, you're out. But cases like this, you're not looking at that big of an investment, and these people have they don't have an alternative for help. I mean, in one case, we actually, the fire department actually is helping in one case, but looking through everything, when you don't have homeowner's insurance on that piece of property, it really ties you. So for the greater good, I mean, I'm going to assume you're going to look at all these, applications and everything and really, vet them well. But I think this is a really, really good move because especially the elderly in our community, they don't have, there's no way they can do that if they need assistance.
Yeah, typically, I wouldn't say that the lack of homeowners insurance is rare, but it is uncommon. Most people have mortgages on their dwelling units, and through their mortgages, the premium for homeowners insurance will, of course, be escrowed, something that most homeowners are familiar with.
But it does help those instances like the several that I know of where that's the hang-up in getting some type of assistance. So thank you for making this positive change.
And at first, the reason I asked is there's some elderly people that they own their home. They just can't afford to maintain it. And if they had the cost of insurance, that would either put them farther back, so. Okay. All right, we've had a motion and a second. Is there anybody in the public who wants to speak for or against this? Hearing none, if you'd allow me, I'll read the resolution. It's a resolution of the City of Deltona, Florida, approving technical changes to the local housing assistance plan for the program year 16-17 and 17-18 and 18-19. Changes include increasing down payment amounts and eliminating a requirement for homeowners insurance, authorizing submittal of the revisions to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, providing for severability and effective date. If you would allow us to vote, please. And motion passes 6-1 with Commissioner Vice Mayor Novick abstaining as per notified a few moments ago. All right, the next item on the agenda is item 9. I'm sorry. I got to change it. I got so many papers here tonight. 10A. And it's a budget amendment to, this is a budget amendment to appropriate a portion of the city's natural disaster reserve fund for storm-related expenses for debris removal, debris monitoring, site rental, and city property damage from Hurricane Matthew. That's item number 10A again. Okay, is there any questions or comments from commissioners, members of the public? Mr. Klinger, do you have any updates?
No, there's, again, no formal presentation.
Okay.
This is just to set up the funding mechanism for the next 3 agenda items.
It's pretty straight to the point, just for the public's interest. It's approximately $1,050,000 for debris removal, site rental around $75,000, monitoring $360,000, $150,000 contingency, and property damage about $500,000 for a total of $2,135,000. Commissioner Honecker?
I'm ready to make a motion. If you want to read the
All right,
resolution
sir.
first, doesn't matter to me.
Go ahead, sir.
I move to approve resolution number 2016-61, appropriating a portion of the city's natural disaster reserve to fund storm-related expenses, including but not limited to debris removal, debris monitoring, site rental, and city property damage from Hurricane Matthew.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Schleicher?
Second.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Sukup?
Yeah, the only question I had is, FEMA will reimburse 80% of this?
Currently, I think Crystal could speak to this better than I, but I believe that is the current expectation, that 80% will get reimbursed, but it's far too early in the process to tell.
Okay.
Based on history, that should be close. I'll let the experts speak.
There's the typical, which is 75%, but there's an advanced program for advanced pickup. The first 30 days is 85%. The next 90 days is 80%. So we're thinking we could probably get 80+% on average.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
I think this will be for Mr. Klinger. I'm not sure. We waived the fees for permits, I believe, for 90 days.
Into the year.
To the end. Okay, to the end of the year. Do we know, or have we researched, is that loss of revenue reimbursable to us from FEMA?
I have not had any. I've done no such research. Have not been presented with that question. I don't know the answer.
Can we just, Madam Manager, can we just have somebody look into that and make sure that that's not something that might be reimbursable?
I'll check.
Okay, thank you.
I've never seen it on any of the lists.
Well, the rules change all the time, so
Right.
let's just
It's
be
worth
sure.
looking into, but, yeah. Okay.
It's a phone call.
Okay, yep.
And, one other thing, this isn't really for you. I saw today that Volusia County Emergency Management released a website for people to be able to go to for assistance with their deductible through a Volusia County program. So anybody that's having trouble with their deductible, go to Volusia County Emergency Management's website, and there's an application there. Apparently the county has a program countywide that may help you if you need some assistance with your hurricane deductible.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the audience, from the commission? All right, the resolution reads, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the annual general fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016, and ending September 30, 2017 by adjusting expenses related, repealing all resolutions or parts of resolution conflict herewith, providing for an effective date. All right. Would you allow us to vote, please? All right, Natalie, motion passes 7-0. Item number B is a ratification of emergency debris removal services purchase order due to Hurricane Matthew. That's item number B, and this is a purchase order that needs to be discussed. Any questions by members of the commission? And this, again, this is the one that has to do with debris removal. Questions? Oh, I see. Okay, here we go. Vice Mayor?
I'll make a motion to approve ratification.
Been properly moved by Vice Mayor, second. Mr. Hertzberg?
Second.
Okay, it's properly
Mr.
moved
Mayor.
and seconded. Are there any other questions?
Ms. Harris is standing up for me.
Yeah. Just to answer questions if we had any.
No.
Did you want to make a comment?
I don't have any official presentation, but I'm here to answer any questions if there are anything. We're obviously here to ratify the purchase orders for the debris removal.
I can barely hear you.
Sorry.
You've got to get close to that mic with your soft voice.
Okay, so obviously we're here to ratify the purchase order for the debris removal. This is for Crowder Golf. I just want to make sure that everybody is clear and understanding so that we don't have any confusion between the two different types of services. So this is for the removal portion where it's actually the haulers going out and pulling back the debris off the road. We have done this purchase order in accordance with our city procurement policy and procedures. So that's why we are coming back to you now, because this is done under the emergency declaration. And we're coming back to you now. We've already done the budget amendment. That was Bob's item. And so now we're ratifying the actual purchase order for these services with a not to exceed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments by anyone? All right. Motion been made and seconded. Would you allow us to vote? And the motion passes 7-0. Moving right along, item number C. In a similar vein, this is ratification of the emergency debris monitoring purchase order. Same thing doing a Hurricane Matthew. And it is the purchase order for the monitoring of the event. So is there any questions or comments? Question, Commissioner Honaker?
No questions. I move to ratify purchase order number 17310-00 for emergency debris monitoring services under the emergency declaration resolution number 2016-52 and in accordance with the City of Deltona's procurement policies and procedures manual.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments? All right, if you allow us to vote. The motion passes 7-0. Okay, item number D, request for approval amendment, of an agreement between the city and Albert H. and Jeanette K. Pell. This is the rental agreement for the property that we're using for the site for accumulation of storm debris. Okay. Commissioner Schleicher.
Well, if there's no other questions, I move to the approval of the agreement titled Rental Agreement for Storm Debris Location between the city and Albert H. and Jeanette K. Pell.
Okay, Commissioner Honaker.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Schleicher, seconded by Commissioner Honaker for approval. Any comments by members of the public or additional comments by the commission? Hearing none, would you allow us to vote, please? Motion passes unanimously. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is item number 11A, and it has to do with the request for approval of consultants for state government relations and lobbying. This is something that came up, and we had done a search, and this is the report back from staff on the approval of the lobbying agreement. Comments, questions by commissioners? Hearing none. Ms. Shane, do you want to make comments before I go to? No?
Actually, I'm trying to get direction for you in regards to the lobbying services. We received two proposals. We had a proposal for a session fee as well as for an annual fee.
Okay. There are two proposals that are there. I don't know if we want to sit here and debate this tonight. Has anybody had strong feelings on this or not? I personally felt that I was not in a. I like the idea of having the special session if we're going to have time to sit down and provide concise direction on what we're going to do. Is there a timeline for this, or can we do this at a later date? Because the sessions, what is the session run, Heidi? February,
March.
March?
March it starts.
Well, we've got time after the holidays to really hone in on this, and I'd like to see what the League of Cities is promoting, you know, so we could tail on that if there's anything specific that we want to do before we hire a firm. That's just my thoughts, you know, rather than hire annuals. But you do a session, an amount on the sessions, and the price that I was looking at was $15,000 for the session. And then if we don't come up with something sufficient that we want them to lobby on, we can quantify what they get done, that if there's a certain thing we want to push and they get it done, our money's well spent. Or, I don't know, give me some direction. You feel?
Mayor, I have.
Oh, wait, I have a question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Vice Mayor? Well, I was waiting for Jane to say something.
Well, we had a lobbying firm before, and when we put out that RFP or whatever it was, when those folks came in, we had an opportunity to sit down with them and listen to a presentation from each of those firms. I would like to let this firm make a presentation to us and have a discussion with them on what they're expecting from us to be able to do their job, what they have to offer. It's crucial that we have a lobbying firm in Tallahassee that is well respected and well connected. I've sat and talked recently with Representative Santiago, who totally supports us having a lobbying firm, believes it's crucial to being able to leverage dollars in Tallahassee or federal programs, as well as being able to utilize them as we move forward with Volusia County. So I'm not ready to really take action on this per se tonight. I'd like a workshop where this firm can come in and we can sit down with them and we can have some discussion, and then we have, I think, better basis to be able to move forward with the level of service we expect from them.
All right, thank you.
Mayor.
Commissioner Smith?
If I may, we do have one of the firms present. We had asked both firms to be present. However, Peoples and Smith could not attend tonight's commission meeting, but we do have Jean McGowan Associates present, if you would like to hear from them.
If we decide after the questioning that we want to, yeah. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of points. I understand, well, I guess first I would ask, and probably it's going to be the firm that has to answer this, what is our timeline? Because to me, we received a very comprehensive agreement, laid out everything they were going to do for us, all their experience, everything that they have. What I would also remind everyone is just because the session starts in March, committee meetings start way before then. And the best way to form relationships is not to wait until our representatives are in Tallahassee. We do this at home. And if we don't choose the annual service, I fear that we're missing the boat. I just feel that we would definitely be missing out if we don't consider the annual service. The other thing I liked about the firm that our staff is recommending is they're local. They're right here in our backyard. And we can form the relationship with our lobbyist as well, because I think that was the criticism most of us had. Not that they weren't effective, the firm we had before this, but the fact that we really didn't have a relationship with them because they were in Tallahassee most of the time. They might have been based in Orlando, but spent their time in Tallahassee. So I would just suggest that we really consider that. This I don't know how much more you could get out of a workshop. I just think it's one of these issues that we need to make the decision tonight. Let's consider, I hope you'll consider an annual service, and let's start building our legislative platform. That's what we should be doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hertzberg?
Well said, Commissioner Smith. I totally agree. And what I did in a little bit of research is look up the legislative dates, and this session starts in March. And the next session in 2018 actually starts several months earlier, and it begins January of 2018. So when you're looking at only doing a session fee, if you want to look at that, you're looking at such a time crunch. It's not like you have an entire year until session starts again. You're actually cutting 3 months off of that, you know, or 2 months off of that technically. Okay. And so my suggestion would be, and I agree with Commissioner Smith, there were 2 firms that bid on this. That was it. They're here. The one firm is here. The other firm actually is a reputable firm. They actually did a League of Cities thing, but they also represent so many other cities, and that was part of our discussion when we decided to go out to bid again, is that we wanted someone that was going to be a bit closer and a bit more involved and didn't have a lot of irons in the fire. That's why when Capital Insight merged with Gray Robinson, we decided to go ahead and go out for something else simply because of the large number of other entities that firm did. And Peebles & Smith has the same issue. They have a ton of other cities that they represent. So, I mean, my recommendation, we have 2 to choose from. I would go for, like Commissioner Smith said, the annual and not the session fee, simply because of the time crunch between the start of this session and next. And you're absolutely right. If you don't start doing the relationships beforehand, to run up there in March is insane. You're not going to get anything. So, I mean, I would like to, if the commission is in agreement with that, to go that route. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Schleicher.
And I kind of agree with both of you ladies, but I still have a little bit of problem. And I agree the fact that this particular firm is close by. It has less clients, you might say. And that was when I started reading the proposals they put in, would have been my first choice, except for one problem. I started looking at monies that are actually gotten. The one firm had more money for social services, cancer, and those types of needs. The other firm got grants for water, infrastructure, and I think one of my biggest concerns is our lobbyists, whoever we get, we need to know what we want them to do because they may have more expertise in one area than another. And that's my concern. If we jump too quickly, do we have somebody that's going to go after the things we really need? Because we need to make sure we're getting our money's worth and go after what. So I kind of in agreements more with Commissioner Novick that we really need to decide, and the mayor, what we want first, then take a look at our firm and say, who has expertise in getting lobbying for the monies that we need for the programs we need. That's just my thought.
Thank you, Commissioner Sukup.
Yeah, I'm sitting the same way you. I think this is a very important piece of our puzzle for the city, that this is something that needs to be made and made right. I agree with Diane and Heidi that it needs to be a year. I'm all for the year. If we're going to do this, it needs to be a year. But I agree with Chris. I like to see, I would like to know more. Look, I can make anybody look good on paper. And I would like to be able to pick their brain, see what they can do for us, see what they lay out our expectations to them and see what their expectations are to us. And I don't think you can do that on paper. So, and I understand getting started quick and making sure we're doing this before the start of the year, but I kind of agree. I would like to sit down and talk with both of them and have them pitch to us, and then we lay out what we want out of them and hold them accountable throughout the year. So that's where I stand.
All right, Commissioner Honecker.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm just on the other side of that coin because we had a staff sit down. They did their RFP. They sat down. They evaluated the proposals. They made a recommendation for, I butchered the name, G.A. McCowan and Associates. They've done all that legwork for us. And you think session starts in March? This is November. November 22nd, House and Senate organization session. December 5th and 9th, House interim committee meetings. So they're starting their meetings December 5th and 9th. 12th and 16th of December, Senate interim committee meetings. January 9th through the 13th, legislative interim committee meetings all the way through the months of January and February, well before they start. This team needs to be in there November and December, and we need to decide now, yeah, give them guidance what they're going to fight for during session. But lobbyists form relationships, and they need to start forming those relationships. They already have in the past, but they need to start forming those now while the committees are meeting. They have legislative interim committee meetings well before the session starts because they can't possibly cover all that in the session. So they have these meetings ahead of time. So I really strongly feel, and McGowan's here tonight. The other company's not. I looked at both of them. They're both reputable firms. But I say let's go for it. We don't have a lot of time to kick this can down the road, and I move to approve the award for state government relations and lobbying for annual services to G.A. McCowan and Associates, LLC.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Honaker, second by Commissioner Hertzberg. For approval, Commissioner Hertzberg, you have the floor.
Thank you. And just two things that I wanted to say. Number one, the one firm is here. If we wanted to hear from them and want them to say anything, I think that's only fair since they chose to come. The other comment that I have is, as Commissioner Honaker stated, we're on the policy committee meetings. They're on the policy committees for the League of Cities. There's a reason that they have those meetings start in September. There's the reason they wrap those policy statements up and approve them and ratify them in December, is to get everything started, not in, March beforehand, so that the League's lobbyists have a chance to go out and start forwarding what the policy committees state. And the other important thing is, when you look at who's incoming, your incoming Senate President and your Speaker designate, those two individuals have a lot of power, most of the power, and what they want to see put forward for their goals is where there is going to be money given. No matter how much we want something, if it's not falling in line to a degree with what the Senate President or the Speaker want, you don't run a really great risk of getting that funding. So you really have to have someone that knows what the issues are going to be that come up and how you go ahead and address them and start soon. So, I personally, and I don't know if the rest of the commission wants that, I wouldn't mind hearing from the people that chose to come here today if they would like to make a statement.
We got a motion and a second on table. When I get through with this discussion, it would seem fitting that if they're chosen, we call them up. So we don't let that bother you for right now. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one other point. You have to remember, number one, this isn't one firm. It's three firms actually working together on our project. And secondly, I understand what you're saying about wanting to vet them individually. The problem is, can we sit here right now and say that we actually have even thought about what our projects are that we want them to work on? So by the time we figure that out and then sit down with the firm, hello, we're in session. So, I would suggest move on the firm. If you're comfortable with the firm, look at their list. There's water projects and everything on this firm's list. And then that's when you bring them in and you sit down and have a workshop to iron out your legislative platform. So that's my suggestion. Like I said, I've spent many years in Tallahassee, so I would suggest we don't drag this along and when we're not even sure we have an idea of what we want as our projects. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor, and then I'll ask the firm to come forward.
I was just going to comment. The firm's still going to be in Tallahassee, whether we hire them or not. They're going to know what's on the table. They're going to know what's going on. They're not going to be ignorant as to what's coming forward with session. The last time we went through this process, the commission, in conjunction with staff, vetted the applicants. Mm-hmm. This is where basically the commission is going to be giving the manager direction on projects and stuff. So these folks are kind of in between a staff and a management kind of position. They're going to be acting on our behalf for some serious dollars and some serious leverage. I'm just not real comfortable with hiring somebody without us doing some actual vetting with them. And that's my concern. I don't know why we changed the process this time. The last time we interviewed 4 or 5 firms. They made presentations. We got to ask questions, and then We told the manager who we wanted to hire. We came back and we ratified that at a commission meeting. I don't know why this time staff is making the decision on who's going to be this commission's lobbyist. That's my point.
I thought staff ranked the last firms as well.
They did.
had
It was
that.
in conjunction with us,
All
but
right,
we
commissioners,
did interviews.
over one another.
You know, we listened to the presentations.
We only have two
And
this
we asked some questions, and I realize there's only two, but you're talking about $50,000+ that we're going to spend here, and hopefully they're going to be able to leverage some big dollars for us, or keep us abreast of issues, fight issues, support issues in Tallahassee. But I don't think there's an urgency to have to vote on this tonight. I think we have time to set a workshop up, bring them in, talk to them, then make a decision about who we actually are comfortable with, see who's going to fit our management style, and then award the contract to the appropriate firm.
Okay, I listened to everybody, and you've kind of, I kind of have a difference of opinion from when I first spoke. I believe we should go forward choosing the firm so they know what we are. My biggest concern is whether it's $5 or $50,000, if we don't give clear direction to them on what we're going to do, we're not going to get anything done. But I think Heidi and Mitch said the same thing. We need them on board, need to know they're working for us. They're going to keep their ears open. They're going to let us know what's going on. And once we develop our plan, we just turn that over to them. So vetting two firms, I think this is what we wanted. We asked staff to look into them, bring it back so we have a choice. And the motion is on the table for this firm here, and the motion is to hire full-time for the year. So if there's not any more comments by anyone else.
Did you want to let the firm speak?
Pardon me?
Did you want to let the firm, did you want, or nothing? No, I don't care.
Well, I was not going to let the firm speak unless we voted in favor of this, so let's have our vote first. Okay, the motion passes 5-2, which it carries. Commissioner Donovan, Commissioner Schleicher in opposition. I'd like to have the representatives come forward, if you would, basically just to let us know, basically give us in your wisdom where we need to go from here, letting you know what you can do for us now that you're officially been approved to be hired. So tell us what our next step is. And your name and the green light in the center.
I'm Georgia McEwen. Got it. I'm president of GA McEwen and Associates, and my colleague Julie Fest of Fest Consulting is with me tonight. Lisa Miller, who is in Tallahassee. We're three women who have joined together, and all of us own our own firms. We have a strong background. I was a chief of staff in the Florida Senate. I worked in the appropriations suite. I've had my own firm for 4 years. I've lobbied for large firms. I think what we bring to the table that is the most interesting for you is we have no cities, we have no counties, we have no competing interest. Our time and our work will be only to advance your interest. I have a strong, strong background in the appropriations process. I just finished doing a campaign for the President of the Senate, Joe Negron. I have a strong relationship there. Nobody should brag on their relationships, but I have been in this process since 1994. I'm very familiar with staff, which doesn't change, who become more powerful with term limits because the legislators go to that staff. And I think that we can do a good job. I think we can be here immediately upon request, and we will sit down with either each of you individually or at a workshop. You can prioritize your goals, figure out what it is you need the most. And again, as Commissioner Hertzberg said, there are going to be certain priorities in the Florida legislature this year. We've got to kind of tailor those goals after what we think is the best possible things that we can get for success, whether they be for our water, whether they be for transportation. infrastructure, but we can get you there. The other thing that we are very good at is thinking outside the box in terms of let's look at other avenues for you to have some finance revenue stream other than the legislature. Let's look, I know you have a grant writer. We can look for grant opportunities. We work 24/7. We're available 24/7. My office is on Silver Beach in Daytona Beach, Florida. I've been in this area for over 40 years. I knew Deltona when the Mackel brothers were building it and half of the homes were underwater. I think we will be your best bet to get you where you want to go. And we're honored to be selected, and we're going to do a great job, and we're available to you at any time.
Thank you. Commissioner Honecker.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for you, because looking at your packet, we thought the RFP would be closed out sooner, and your anticipated project schedule had us meeting in October to go over our goals with you. We're into November. Your availability for, once the commission picks a date, your availability for meetings, day, nights.
Pardon me?
Your availability for meetings as far as day, nights.
When you set the date, I will tell you that I am driving to Stewart tonight to finish another campaign that I'm helped in the House for the Speaker, and then I will be back here tomorrow night, and whatever date you pick, if you want to have turkey with me on Thanksgiving, that's fine too, honestly.
No, I'm looking at your, because it's an ambitious time frame, November through January, you're setting up your key legislative executive meetings in Tallahassee, so you got a lot going on. So
right. On November 9th, the Speaker is going to announce his leadership team. He has a new process this year where he is going to pick the chairman of the committees and let those chairmen pick their committee members. So we're not going to know what's happening until after November 9th. On November 22nd, that's when the new Speaker and the new President go into office. They're going to start talking between that time and the first week in December. First week in December, the House has committee meetings. Second week in December, the Senate. They didn't put them back to back like they usually do. And then we go right into January. And believe me, it moves fast. The legislative budget requests are due in from the agencies. So the Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Regulation, all of those people have to have their LBRs into the governor. The governor will be putting his budget together. Now, the governor's budget is not the know-all, be-all, end-all. It comes out, and the legislature said, we're going to do what we want to do. But there's oftentimes that if you have meetings with the governor's staff at the Office of Policy and Budget, and you get those projects or anything else at least into the discussion, and you get into the governor's budget, then you're already on the table. So those are the kinds of things that we need to do very quickly.
Okay, so if we tomorrow's party day around the country. So when the party's over, and we'll have our new commission seated, and we get together. So if we get together toward the end of the month and get information to you, say the middle of the month, toward the end of the month, you'll be able to set something up on pretty short
Absolutely.
notice.
If you want to have a roundtable workshop, we'll sit down and we'll prioritize your goals. And you are our client. We will do whatever you need to do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All the
It's a
ladies,
pleasure.
thanks for being here, and I want the kid to be here. Good luck.
Mayor.
Look forward to working with you. Yes, sir. Vice Mayor, need to ask questions.
I just would make a suggestion, see what the rest of the commission feels about this. Does she already have a copy of our strategic plan?
Can make that available.
I don't know. I can provide you one.
We'll make it available to you, our overall strategic plan. Thanks, Vice Mayor. Okay, moving right along. We're done. Okay. We voted on that, so we're clear. So we're at the point of the meeting where, City Attorney, you have any comments tonight, ma'am?
No, sir.
City Manager?
No, sir.
Okay. I got three quick ones I just want to bring up before we go into actual comments. West Volusia Summit, November 19th, and I'm not trying to pin anybody down, but are we planning going as a body? The 19th of November, it's a Saturday morning. Just tell me, if you're not going, say something. Only two that may not go, so a majority of us will be there, so okay, good. That's on the 19th in the land. Veterans events this weekend, you know they start, Veterans Day is Friday. Museum will be open. There's veterans events going all weekend long. For further information, you can call me. If those of you at home, there's listings in the paper, but there's events going on all weekend long. Commissioner Honaker has volunteered to be at Thursday morning. The Timbercrest Elementary School has won an award, and he's going to represent us there. And congratulations to them. The education co-chair of the Land Chamber is going to present the Gainan School of Excellence Award to Timbercrest, and Mr. Honaker and possibly Commissioner Schleicher will both be there. December 1st, Halifax is having a organizational structure meeting at Deltona Presbyterian Church on Holland Boulevard at 7:45 a.m. in December. And then New Hope Home and Human Services on Saturday, November 19th, they're also having their annual giveaway, and that's at New Hope Baptist Church on, come on, help me, Lake Hellenstein Boulevard, I'm sorry, east of Catalina, 9 to 1. Yeah. So try to attend those events if you can and support our local agencies. Commissioner Smith, would you like to start us off tonight?
Just have a couple of quick things that I wanted to follow up on. Commissioner Schleicher, we were able to try to drill down into when we got that presentation with all the paperwork last October. We've had conversations in between, but that packet, I met with Jerry. Well, we met and we discussed this. So my question tonight is, I know we had the discussion last week. Is there anything this commission needs to do formally to, make sure that the matching grant happens, or is there going to be another workshop?
Well, I think the one thing we are probably going to need will be an actual formal vote from the commission, so we have a documentation that the commission has approved this to go forward for a matching grant.
Well, then I would just suggest, I know it's an add-on item, so I don't want to, but suggest that it gets on the next agenda. Otherwise, it's not
the funding for
the matching grant.
Yeah, well, we have the money in our budget.
That's for
but
matching
it's
grant, but we don't have
not segregated for that specific.
But you've never formally given us
That's what I'm
approval
saying.
to go forward.
Okay.
That's what I need.
So we need
a piece of paper that says, yes, our commission has given us permission to go forward.
To move forward with obtaining the grant, but it needs to be specific.
Yeah, I would say
I know
yes.
you had the last time you presented it, and now we need to get this. 'Cause you
Well, I
won't be
just say
here.
it should be on the agenda.
Yeah,
It should
it
be
should
on
be
an
on-
upcoming
it should be
agenda so that
agenda.
you can.
Step 1, 2, 3, and 4,
we
however you,
have that
right.
for the
Well, get us something, get us something firmed up with the initial grant, because the other one was broad-based. Okay? Anything else, ma'am?
Just a couple of quick things. Status on the robocalls. We had discussed this probably a month or two ago, like the reverse 911, that we can notify our citizens when things happen. You said you'd get some pricing information. Just a reminder, let's not let that slip through the cracks. We need to at least investigate what it would cost. I'm not saying it.
Natural disasters or?
Well, like anything, it's almost like a reverse 911. It's just an auto call to citizens. We could gather phone numbers because we probably don't have them through water bills. That's probably the easiest way.
Probably the easiest way would be to maybe piggyback the school board. They already have an existing
Yes, they do, and that's
system
how
and a
that
contract.
conversation
Yeah.
came up.
Maybe they'd let us.
So we could probably piggyback those
Oh,
rates,
perhaps,
that
yeah.
contract.
Well,
software.
again, these are just things that I'm trying to follow up on before I go. We talked again several times about that mini grant application. Is it coming to this commission, or the mini grants for the $35,000 that was set aside? Is the commission going to see that soon? We thought.
Should be a draft coming out, should there soon?
I don't know. I haven't
Yes.
heard anything.
Yes, the staff is putting together some guidelines as requested by the commission.
And the application's pretty much ready to go? Okay, I guess my question is, when will it be ready to be rolled out to the community?
Well, I think it'll probably take another couple of weeks or so, and we can bring it before the commission, before we
Okay.
roll it out to the community.
So by January 1, it should
Sure.
be ready to have people applying for those funds?
Sure.
I see you moving over here, that's why I'm directing it to you.
Okay.
Okay, and Last thing, I know it is the will of this commission not to discuss the wastewater plant, and I respect that, but I do have questions. My questions are, and they don't have to be answered tonight, because I realize it's research. What I'd like to know, and I think we should know, is what are the city's costs to date, including the conversation that happened, because in the timeline, there's several amounts of money, $24,000, $25,000. There's several amounts of money that were discussed. I'd like to know what the total cost to the city is on that event. And also, there's, according to the minutes from one of the meetings, there was a discussion about would the city be responsible for transportation to the Fisher plant and pay for the cost of additional dilutants? I don't understand why we would have to pay for that, but the question is, what is the status of that conversation? And did the city receive any reimbursement on any of these costs? So when we can get those numbers, thank you.
All right. Ms. Shang, would you get that information to us on that cost? I think Matt made what's delusion is a solution to pollution. You know, the more we add to it, but yeah. Vice Mayor?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Schleicher?
Well, for one of us, it has been an extremely long 2 weeks, and it's almost over. I just want to tell people tomorrow is Election Day. Don't forget to go out and vote. I wish all of our candidates the best of luck tomorrow, and for the commission as we set a new start with a new commission starting up that makes sure that we are moving our city forward. This is what we need to be able to do, working together and move our city forward. Best of luck to everybody tomorrow. I will be awake sometime bright and early again.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Honaker?
Thank you, Mayor. Up at the agenda review, I discussed just that we know we're going to have at least one, because Commissioner Smith is not running again, so there's going to be at least one new commissioner. We have the West Volusia Summit on the 19th. We swear in everyone, including the vice mayor, who ran unopposed, on Monday the 14th. On the 15th is the Lake Monroe. On the 16th is FDOT. We need to meet, I feel we need to meet, if the commission agrees, before the 19th to discuss, number one, the homelessness situation. We did not want to support the Marbot jail diversion program, which was great, but now there's a program in West Volusia. It's going to be on that agenda, and we're going as a team. I feel we need to meet and discuss that before the 19th.
You're right on target.
There's civility. We need to discuss adding to the commission policy. So what occurred the last time with Commissioner Sukup doesn't happen again. I'll feel bad for him. We learned a lesson from that. We need to set up some policy on how to bring things to the commission and get them on the agenda, and how meetings like that are conducted. I think we need to discuss a policy. And now we have a third thing to discuss, setting up a date, not, but setting up a date with the lobbyists. So I would suggest Thursday, November 17th. It's the one night we have nothing on the calendar, maybe 5:30, a special workshop, Mayor, so we can discuss these issues before the 19th and with our new commission or commissioners.
I've got to look at my calendar up there, but you're suggesting a date out of the blue right now, and I don't really know what I got at home, but I have that date open right now. Is everybody prepared to make a decision tonight or not?
The 17th works for me.
17th? That's a Thursday. You're off.
No, I'm at a leadership summit in Orlando, the 17th and 18th.
Okay. I couldn't do it that Wednesday you mentioned afterwards, but you're at a leadership summit?
I am.
The 16th.
And the 19th.
The 16th's not going to work. We've got FDOT here.
FDOT, and 15th is Lake Monroe.
Wait a minute. Here, all right, everybody listen up. Would the 16th work if we did it before FDOT? If we did it at, say, 4:30 to 5:30? We could do it up on the second floor and then come down? Oh, you're at work.
They both work.
FDOT's at 5 o'clock anyway.
I can't do it Tuesday or Wednesday.
I can stay late after school on Wednesday.
Next best date is, next best date would be the 23rd.
Yeah, but that puts us after the summit,
I
which is one of the
understand.
key topics.
I understand.
We could stay on the 14th if they're swearing in. That's very fast.
Stay on the
That's
14th?
social, and that's, you got new commissioners, we haven't, they're not here to help discuss this.
You can't play.
What was the date? 17th?
Thursday, November 17th.
Is the only one that can't make it Heidi? Heidi, could you impart the issues that he was bringing up, the 3 or 4 issues? That's the homelessness issue. Delan's going to definitely want to
You can-
talk about that.
Depending
Yeah, it's
on
on
the
their
time.
agenda they sent out today.
You want me to phone conference me in? I don't care about that. You can do it via phone if I can.
We took it, we threw that policy when we first started, we said we weren't going to do that. But I'll tell you what.
But are we making
if you would
decisions
make
at
your-
that, at this,
The
or?
commission did, but, yeah, not being on site, we nixed that. But anyway, to make the point that you're trying to make, those issues, if you want to get your information in, I think it would be best, so there's no problem, get it to the manager. She then can share it with the commission that night as we talk about each item. Is that fair to everybody? Okay. And in that way, the new commissioners will have a chance to speak their mind too.
What time are you looking at that day?
Well, what time are you looking at, 5:30 on the
5:30.
17th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 5:30.
Just like a regular workshop.
It would be like a regular workshop, 5:30. It'd be a special, it's a special discussion on commission items and summit items and lobbyists. Commission's methods of moving forward, the lobbying and the homeless issue, or summit issues, there's a couple on there for the land summit, okay? Everybody's in agreement? Okay, moving right along.
Okay, and
Yeah, I mean, moving along with your stuff, I know.
Okay.
You always
I
have a
did,
list of stuff.
Remind everybody that City Hall is closed on Veterans Day, the 11th. And the Latin Festival is Sunday, the 13th, at Dewey O. Boster Park, 11 to 8 p.m. And the mayor already touched on the New Hope Human Services at New Hope Baptist Church, giving thanks by giving. So it's not from 9 to 1. Please take the time and attend.
Okay, Commissioner Hertzberg.
Thank you, Mayor. First things, first, the Paint the City Pink with the Fire Department. The Pink Heels Tour is 5 to 8 p.m. November 10th at Fire Station 65 on Howland Boulevard.
How did I miss that one?
And
Got a big flyer on it.
is there a possibility that we can get the dates for our legislative delegation meetings? I saw the dates at the League of Cities Policy Committee meeting, but that was only for the South Florida delegation. They had their dates set, but I didn't see that, so I'm not sure when our legislative delegation meeting is set up yet. And piggybacking on Commissioner Smith with the reverse 911, the robocalls, definitely we need to look into that. And the reason I say that is with the pollution issue that's coming up, the policy that's coming up right now, I think one way or the other, with the governor really being in on this, like with that mosaic spill, like I said before, I think that it's going to be very, very good to have some sort of a notification system that we need for our residents, especially if something like that is put in a bill. Whether it is or not, I think it's really good to be ahead of the game and look at something like that you comply with notification should there be some sort of an issue, whether it involves the city or the area or a spill, anything like that. So I think that's a great idea. The other thing that was that I had mentioned a while ago was the phone app that Orange City uses. That was really, and I think we were going to look into that as well, and I know that's a lot for staff to look into, but to get a cost on that, because on the phone app in Orange City, you can report code issues, you can report trees down, you can report, road things. It's a really, really cool app that's on your phone. And I think that is it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Suga.
Yeah, my first couple of ones are for the city manager. First of all, Saxon Boulevard. It's starting to look very nice. Do we know where we stand on that? How much more is left? Are they about done?
The interstate?
Yeah, the interstate on Saxon, the improvements that they're making look very good. Do we know how much more is left? Are they about done, or are we maintaining that now too?
Let me get you that information.
Okay.
Brian, on that subject, you've seen what they've been doing there. This is a prime example of what we talked about. On the 16th, we have the Beyond Ultimate, meeting here, and all of them hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plantings. Well, I don't know, but you know how big magnolia trees get in the south? You see how close they're planted together? That was what I was saying. Every time we build a building, please let's not do that at our new civic center. I mean, they planted those plants very close together. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's another example of, on the 16th, they're going to show us where a lot of it's going to be torn out. So it does look pretty right now, though.
Next is, just the size of the agenda tonight was 681 pages. I don't know if we could have moved some things and made it more manageable when you don't get this until Thursday. I can't get to it until Thursday night earliest. It makes it a lot to go through, so I don't know whether we can set a limit on what we do, but 681 pages is a bunch of stuff to have to go through. So next, I didn't know whether we could get some type of update. We know there's got some issues going on at Pine Ridge. I didn't know whether we could get an update from the city manager about what's going on, what we plan on doing, and if they think it's just going to go away after the election tomorrow. So if you could get that would be grateful. And then last, I don't know if everyone saw, there was an article that went around social media about the kid from Deltona High serving in the Navy. The only thing, as great as that was, you had other kids popping up saying, hey, what about me? I'm in the... So I don't know, is there anything that we can do at the Veterans Museum for kids serving locally? I mean, that are serving right now?
You brought it up, it was one thing I was going to tell you about in a few minutes, and I want to get the exact date. I think it's Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday at 3:30. We've started a new program with the United States Army. What's the term? Come on, Lieutenant. The term for boys and girls who join, or young men and women who join the service in their delayed entry program.
Delayed entry.
The delayed entry program. We're going to recognize with a certificate thanking them for volunteering to support our country's efforts and the veterans. We can add the Navy in. That came through the work of the Army recruiter in the area. He thought they should be recognized while they're waiting to actually fill a billet and go in. So we could do it with the Navy. We've done it before with the museum. So if you can get that information,
or what about showing pictures or names of people currently serving?
We could do any of that. A lot of churches do it, Brian. If you go into church, they'll have their veterans that are currently serving, past veterans. Everybody comes up with these ideas on Veterans Day, but most of the time when we tell them we'll make it available, they don't follow through.
Well, you could just tell that some of the other ones were like, hey, we're over here doing the same thing, but so it'd just be nice to recognize
all they got to do is let us know. We have in fact, I'll give the credit to Sandy upstairs. Sandy developed a little form and a little appreciation thing, and I'm going to hand out the first 7 Wednesday at the museum. So they come down to the museum. So that's a standard form. If we get the name, we can, because it says military, it doesn't just say U.S. Army. So we could give that to anybody. If you can get the name to me, we can invite them down there and give it to them anytime. We have the Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force, Coast Guard birthday. Each year we have the birthday party. That would be a great time to invite them if they're in town. But if somebody's leaving, just get the information to him. We'll get a certificate to them. We could do it at any time. Is that it?
The other area that got cleaned up, I don't know if it was us or if it was the power company or FDOT, but Deltona Boulevard, the power lines, you can see forever. It takes a lawnmower now to cut it.
Did they get that tree down?
I don't know, did we do that or? Okay, but that's all cleared.
Well, it's cleared, but there is nothing done around the sidewalks. There's no edging, there's no nothing. And I'm going to hope that we hold those entities responsible, just like we hold a homeowner responsible for 8 or 10 or 12 inches of grass, and they get a little ticket, that these businesses and these power line easements and everything else are held to the same level of accountability. Because go about there, I have my phone full of pictures from yesterday. The sidewalks are horrible. All they did was bush hog it and clear cut it.
Well,
and dump the trees, and it looks nicer. It looks
But-
better,
but
but
it's-
the
it's
sidewalks
cleaned
and
up.
everything else are horrific.
Bring it up to our required
Yeah,
level
if
of care.
residents are
The power-
required
the
to,
power
that
line-
should be a.
But the power line area that we had made comment about is totally
Okay.
been bush hogged and
Right.
cleared out.
All right, before I
But the
adjourn.
edging is still terrible.
Before I want to adjourn, in an effort not to belabor this subject, I appreciate everybody tonight and the ability to get through this meeting. A lot of what you mentioned, Commissioner Sukup, about this, there was so much backup information on some of this that it was very hard to dig through, and I agree, it's heavy. That thing weighs a ton. But I do want to mention other things. On the news tonight, I saw some really strange things, and I know Nancy wants to go home because she got a busy day tomorrow, but you heard about the squirrel and the squirrel incident, and laugh about it. It's not really funny to those that have been injured or scratched by the squirrels, but it's a reminder to everybody in Deltona. In the last 10 years, sandhill cranes, we never had what we had. Gopher tortoises, this is getting to be a real habitat for animals. We saw a bear in our area. I see deer, I see fox, I see all kinds of things here. So don't think you're living in urban, Chicago. There are a lot of wild animals out here. And be careful and don't feed those pets. Just please don't feed them. They'll go somewhere else for food. And the other thing is the incidents that Mr. Lou, what's his name, Lusan or Lou, the gentleman that was in here. There's a story, Luan. There's a story on. He was here appearing about noise at our wastewater treatment plant. Staff is on top of that. So if something comes up and somebody asks you, we are working with the state and with everybody to do it. But right now, we comply. There's been no written order for us to cease operations or anything. So don't let things go crazy. But we are trying to reduce the noise level from that. But he was here. He has a long-standing history, with the city, working with the city. So we're trying to address his concerns. And with that being said, we are adjourned.
My agenda packet doesn't get any heavier no matter how many.
I know.